Oh, it's go time. What's up, socials? Welcome back to the Freedom Economy series sponsored by Spera. Today we talk about that hustle mode on. Let's go. If you've been watching the last couple of episodes, we're talking about that freelance gig that you might want to start up, and today is the day that you start it. So what does it mean to actually do that? Let's talk about it. Last time we talked about what to do to get experience if you have none. So if you saw that episode, you know what it took for me to hit the ground running when I got my first side hustle client. Things were getting really real, so it was time to go to work. And in that situation, when I didn't have any structure in this side business thing, it was time to make some changes. Because if you're gonna make side hustle money, you kind of have to have your stuff together. Thumbs up if you're going after that side hustle money. Do it. The first really big thing was time management. I still had a full-time job and I was ready to start this side gig, but that meant I had to manage the hours that I had available really carefully in order to get the job done. So for me, I was managing like nighttime hours after work and what I could do on the weekends. How much of that had I said I was gonna do for this client? How much of it did I need to reserve? This is the moment where I truly started living by my calendar, because my life was more than just showing up at a 9 o'clock a.m. position and leaving that position at 6. Things were so much more complicated now and by the minute. It was also super important to integrate project management into what I was doing, because if you start one gig, you might end up with another one, and the tasks at hand for each of these things need to be well organized. So I was living by the calendar and I was figuring out what goes on that calendar with my project manager and where I was with any given task. Another thing about starting your side hustle right now is that as soon as you hit the ground running, you better get professional, like real quick. A website may not be required for you yet, but it's 2016, people. Get a website, $10 or something on GoDaddy to get your own URL. It's not that hard. But at the very minimum, that email address cannot be at AOL.com or even at gmail.com. You can step it up a notch. Just by having a URL and using like Google Apps, you can have a custom email address. And I can't stand when somebody's trying to orchestrate business, even as a side hustle, and then they give me a very unprofessional email address. This is the bare minimum today. When I recommend a client for you, I want to give them a legit email address for you. And that's how I felt about myself. And then the other thing about getting professional is having business cards. So let's print a legit email address on your new business cards, which you're probably going to need as well. My first business card was so simple. It literally just had my name on it, the title of what I did to help people, which was essentially social media management. And then it said amy@savvysexysocial.com. Boom, business card, done. And finally, if you don't want to waste any time at all, it's not just about managing time for the full-time job, managing time for the side gig. It's also managing your time in terms of goal setting. Your goal really could be, but probably shouldn't be, I'm going to do this side gig until I make as much money or more as I do with my full-time gig, and that is when I will leave my full-time job. Believe it or not, that's actually not a specific enough goal. First, you have to even know if you want to leave your full-time job. Who knows? Maybe you want to freelance on the side of your regular job. You like all of these things. Then how are you going to sustain that in the long term? That's a specific goal that you need to figure out. How many hours is this gig when you're totally happy with it in total, and how it complements your full-time job? If you do want to leave your full-time job, or regardless, you need to set a goal that's a really good first milestone. Obviously, the first client helped you hit the ground running, but if you don't have that yet, that might be your first milestone. Maybe you're side hustling and you haven't quite got that gig yet. Also, keep in mind that making as much money as my full-time job is not the same thing. They take out taxes for you and manage all of that stuff. They help you get health insurance if you have good benefits, and your 401k. It's a very different scenario. It's not dollar for dollar. So maybe your goal needs to be something specific in terms of, I know that this is somewhat of a success and I'm doing all right if I've reached a certain number of clients at a certain amount per hour or per month. For me, I decided that I was going to assess where I was in my full-time job once I had reached 3 paying clients on a monthly retainer. That was the milestone. That wasn't like a, okay, it's time to leave. It was the, okay, where are we going from here? What will make this better? What would make me happier? What is the big picture here? Because my goal was to leave my full-time job. My goal was to become an entrepreneur. But at the time, I was not an entrepreneur. Just because you start a business does not mean you're an entrepreneur. So side hustle does not automatically equal entrepreneurship. It means you are doing what you do well for additional monies. What does success look like for you if you're starting this side hustle and it's actually gonna make you happy on some level? The money is definitely a part of it though. So if that is gonna help you measure it, then define it. I hope those tips have helped you to decide, is today the day that you start that side hustle? Hustle mode on? Is it on for you? Leave your comment below, let me know where you are in this decision-making process. Big shout out to Spera for sponsoring the Freedom Economy series here at Savvy Sexy Social. Make sure you go check them out. The link is in the description. If you want to improve your freelance work style, they have a killer platform really helping you with that project management stuff I was telling you about, as well as the logistics for getting paid. We all want that, don't we? That's all for today's socials. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it as always. Subscribe for good vibes, and until next time, go after what you want. Cheers.